Welcome black, welcome black, welcome black. You know, you like that. Welcome black, welcome black, welcome black. You know, you like that.
Look, I told you, at some point we will have to record an actual intro to the podcast.
Until then, welcome black.
Welcome black. Well, yes.
Yes, we will record. We will be professional podcasters in 2.5 seconds. Give us time.
I know, but then it's kind of like, it's fun not to put so much stress on it.
It's true. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? I feel like long time no see, but we've had a good, nice little 20-minute debrief since then. So
I know, but still a long time no see. We haven't really just sat and chat. So it's nice. These podcast recordings episodes is gonna be our time because life be lifing, but hopefully we'll get some time soon. How am I? I actually, I think I texted you about it, but I have a double trouble. I have typhoid, which is like something you get from contaminated water, contaminated food, and I have malaria, which you can get from mosquitoes. And so you don't want those things, but you don't want to have them together. And I had recently had an episode where I was like getting dizzy and things and teaching yoga, and like I was determined to like not pass out on yoga, but I was getting so dizzy. And then after I taught a yoga session, it was hot, and I was walking to the market with my friend, and my legs started to just not work anymore, and I started to black out. He had to carry me, but I think my body just kind of knew that, like it had been wanting to just like give out on me, I guess. But like when I was teaching yoga, I guess my body was too stubborn to like not let people see me fall out. But like shortly after I taught that lesson, I like couldn't operate, and so I wanted to go. Yeah, I went to the doctor, and she was like, "Yep, yeah, I see malaria and typhoid." So that's what I'm dealing with. I'm gonna need you to really carry me through this episode. I'm still excited to be here, but I'll be a little monotone, won't be as exciting, but I'm gonna push through.
No, I'm sending you healing vibes. It's so basically, you don't know if it came from food or water or anything. It's just something was contaminated.
Right, you just don't. I really don't know when or when I got it. And and sometimes my friend, I have a friend here who's like, because I like fresh juices. If I go out, I'm like, I want fresh juices, and she's always like, you don't know what water that was made with, so stop eating fresh juices. And so, our body just is not adapted to certain things here in Ghana. So,
Man, that's a whole conversation because I obviously been wanting to go to Ghana, but there are things that you hear, and this being one.
You have to be prepared for it. Yeah.
So it's pretty common, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
These are true. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I'm sending you healing vibes. We'll have a conversation about this once you beat it and whatnot, because I think it is a conversation to have for people who are interested in going abroad. And
just things to be aware of and be prepared for it. Definitely, we can definitely have that conversation. But anyways,
but outside of that, you're in good spirits. Obviously, I can feel it.
Yes, I am in good spirits. I definitely want to do our moment in community. But do you have anything going on with you? Anything new with you?
So like I said, the last time I basically just moved to Dallas, so I've been readjusting. So part of that readjusting is getting into communities and just seeing where I can be needed. And so obviously, as an artist, you gravitate to the arts and where the artists hang out. And so luckily, an artist that I've worked with, Angela Coley, who showcased in the gallery, he was a part of this annual show that happens everywhere. It's not just in Dallas, but it's called Pancakes and Booze. So I went, supported him. It was good to see him, a familiar face. He's originally from Dallas, but I'm not quite sure how many people came to support him that night. It was rainy and whatnot, but we had a good time. We had a great time. And I was able to take some of his pieces home, and I'm going to help sell them. Obviously, that's what I do, but he's an awesome kid. Like,
Yes.
he really is. He's young. He's still in college. He goes to the, now I always get this mixed up. I don't know if it's the University of Tulsa, the Tulsa University, but he goes to Tulsa University, and he's an artist, and he's super amazing.
Who,
So when
Angel?
I fell in love. What was that? I'm sorry.
You said Angel goes to the University of Tulsa?
He's a senior, so he graduates this year.
Okay.
And essentially, what he was going to school for football, and then he has a whole story. We can get into it. Especially, I want to do this segment called like Red Dot series or something, where we showcase or shout out artists. Which this would be the first one, because I definitely would love to shout out Angela Coley. He started as a football player. As a football player, you're not making any money. As a student, you're not making any money. But then he, I guess, taught himself art. He started doing art and was making money off of it. Long story short, the school found out, NAACP, or not the NAACP, what is it, NCAA, they found out that he was making money. And I guess when you're on scholarship or whatnot, you can't make money. And so he ended up quitting football to pursue his art career. And I mean, he's been killing it in Tulsa ever since. So I definitely want to shout him out. And everybody, if you're listening, please go follow Angela Coley. We have to support our Black artists, and definitely, support their dreams and their gifts, for sure. Art can definitely be a career if we invest in our artists. So
He quit football. Wow. He quit football and went out to the artists. All of that.
And he's originally, his family is Nigerian. So, he was telling me like they were super dead set on him, sticking to this one path of, whatever he was going to school for, this college football career thing that they had set up for him.
Yeah.
So follow your dreams, for sure.
Follow your dreams. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
I had to plug them real quick, but that's basically what I've been up to, is just trying to be in the mix of the creative community and supporting the creatives in the process.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I love that. Your moment in community. I have a few moments in community in which I definitely want us to all share those moments. My moment, I'm gonna share two. I was trying to decide which one I want to share, but I'm gonna share two. My moment in community in which we would like to hear from people is just a moment where we felt community, where we felt love, where we felt like somebody pulled together, where we felt like, what do you think? How would you define it?
When you feel like you're at home, like you shared on the social media page, like you just feel comfortable in your setting. Yeah, and you're
taken care of. Like resources were put together, or someone showed up for somebody in the community. Can look like for so much. For me, like I said, I've been sick, and one of the ways that people treat malaria is neem. There's neem trees, and there's medicinal trees all over Ghana, and people sell neem, but it's the trees are all over Ghana. And I went to go find a neem tree, and my roommate was like, there's a neem tree down the street in this yard, go see if they'll give you some neem. And so basically with the neem, you take the leaves and you put them in a steam, and then you do a steam over it and like inhale it in, or you can make tea. And so I've been doing it all. But I went down the street, and they were all, it was like nighttime. And so it was like all family sitting outside, like neighbors all sitting outside. I was like, I have malaria and typhoid. Can I get some neem, please? And they just kind of like laughed. And the youngest of the bunch like got up there and started like yanking down me some neem and filling a bag of neem for me.
That's love.
This whole bag of neem that lasted me the whole week. And they were like, do you want a lot of neem or do you want a little bit of neem? And it was like, this big bag is good enough for right now. And then I saw him recently he passed by the house and he's like, give me this big wave. And I was like, I'm gonna come back to my second round of neem.
Oh yeah, that's
So
community.
it's
That's
so
definitely
really communal, you know. People been taking care of me here. And like my other moment in community is I lead beach yoga every Sunday, as you know. And I've been told really that I need to sit down and like maybe take a break from the asana part of yoga, which are the actual poses. I need to take a break from moving around, just let my body heal. And so I needed people to replace me. And so my community, my yoga community has really pulled through. My friend Mame and my friend Cicely or Ama, they are both yogis and have been with me since day one. I started yoga on the beach, and they're just gonna take over for me and fill in for me. I'm super grateful. And anytime, you know, I've needed them, they filled in and they showed up for me. And then it's really a communal effort. This beach yoga, and so I truly appreciate them and how they kind of upheld me and been there. And I've learned so much from them as fellow yogis. So that's my moment in community, my moments in community.
I love that. That's moments in community, sisterhood.
Exactly.
You know, I love it. I mean, and you probably taught them a lot too. Shout
Yeah.
out to showing up and supporting. You'll be franchising before you know it. Watch. Everybody, beach groups everywhere.
Yes. Speak it. Put it out there. Let's manifest. What if we manifested? That's what I want to do. We got to do. I want to bring somebody on here to talk about manifesting one day, but we can definitely.
I am so into the manifesting videos on YouTube and whatnot because I do want to be in that headspace, that vibration to where everything that I do believe, however, though, part of me, I am a master manifester because I can say a lot of the things that I've said that I wanted came to life. You know what I mean? It didn't come when I wanted it to, obviously, but it definitely came into fruition. So, but there are more people who can be super intentional. That's what I want to be, like super intentional, super powered type situation.
That is a thing, though. I'm gonna have to do my research, but my friend once told me about this concept of different people have these different expertise and the ability to do something, and some people are manifestors, like are natural manifestors. What is it? I have to look it up, but she. I'll remember by the end of this, but basically, like the manifestor can say, she was saying, like, I think she shared a story of how her brother was in a lawyer and wasn't happy, and he was like, I really want to get into real estate, and she's like, well, you know, you're a manifestor, just start telling people you want to get into real estate, and then you're a real estate agent, and he started broadcasting it, and he is successful in it. But I'll have to look up that concept. I'll do it here in a minute. But
I love that.
It is a thing. So it might be you that you can really lean into that. Like you said, you probably are manifesting.
You know what though? I'm no jokes aside, like all jokes aside, right? I believe Sagittarius, we do have this just natural optimism that does allow us to be better at manifesting than others, because you know, you have some signs out there, especially water signs, that can be more pessimistic than anything, and that negativity really doesn't help when it comes to manifesting. So that I do know. I am no expert, but I do know, you know, your thought process really does affect your outcome.
Gotcha. That Sagittarius, which we both are Sagittarius. Not to say I'm not gonna act like I know a lot about signs, but did remind me that I have a birthday coming up soon. My birthday is coming up.
Birthday. Do you want to tell the people
when it is?
Yeah.
When my birthday, November 29th is my birthday, and I'll be turning 36. I'll be turning 36 this year. I'm pretty excited about it.
You don't even look a day over 19.
Thanks. Sometimes I don't be feeling like a day over 19. I mean, like, I really got to be responsible. But I'm turning 36 this year. My plans are I'm starting an annual retreat. I've always wanted to have a retreat for Black women. When I was going through mental health challenges and needing to get away, I used to be like, dang, I really wish there was somewhere I could just go retreat to, like in nature, like get away and just be loved on. And so that was my dream. And so this year I'm gonna do that. And like, because I will always do I do an annual trip for my birthday. I try to be out of the country or out of where I live, you know. So I would do
Come on,
trips,
exposure.
you know,
Come
every
on,
it's my
Black
birthday.
History.
So so I'm mixing that annual trip with this retreat that I wanted to offer Black women, and I'm going to do that. The first one this year for my birthday, the weekend of my birthday. So we're going to go to a place called Okosamba. It's called Liberate and Retreat with Amare, which Amare, I am she. Amare is my name, my local names, the Saturday born. Whatever day you were born, you have a name. Girls have a name, boys have a name. So Liberate and Retreat with Amare. We're gonna be in Akosamba for 2 nights in the nature, next to the water. It's gonna be great. We're gonna be doing some yoga, liberation activities. I'm pretty excited about it. And so I'm really gonna let that be a learning experience to really build something for the years to come around that time. And then my friends are gonna throw me a birthday party. I did highly encourage them to do that, but because I've always been the birthday planner. I've always planned birthdays for friends. And
Not highly encourage them.
I did highly suggested, because I'm always the one to plan birthdays. And I was like, you know what? This year I want my friends to plan a birthday. And they said they gonna plan birthday. So plan me a birthday. So I'm looking forward to that.
It's gonna be fun. I love that. I hate that I'm gonna miss the trip. The whole retreat.
Yeah, you have to come next year.
I'm not settled enough to go abroad. However, it will be soon, and I will be there at the next one, and then the next one, and then that's going to franchise out too. But I don't know what the politics looks like out there, but I do know that obviously it's this time of season for us. And it's a huge topic, not only in my house, but all everywhere. And I think it's a good topic that I wanted to maybe talk to you with about, and we have other people that we wanted to kind of bring in on the conversation. I don't know if we should introduce them now. Obviously, they're not in the room, but I think just Mr. Charles, and then my father. Like I said, we're talking about it heavy in our house, so I'm talking about it with my son. So,
what kind of conversations have you been having? What kind of conversations have you been having with your son?
Oh man, okay, so I don't know if I do know that in our culture, we definitely just say things like, I hate politics, or, my vote doesn't matter. And so it's really about the reverse psychology of it all. So we've been talking about that, like how it really does matter, and how, we, like my dad's generation and the generation before him, fought to get to the point where we can vote. And so if we don't really get involved and feel like we have a dog in the fight, then we'll always feel like things aren't working in our favor, and it's because it never will. But I think, I want to be one of the people that grew my kid into something, right? Though he has a lot of talents, it's like, dude, just really just get to politics. And
Speaking of, sorry, Charles is in the queue. If you can let him in, he's in a waiting room. Go ahead.
Can let Charles in. Should I get my father too? I wonder.
Yes, please.
Yeah, that. Oh, let me. I'm just. Okay, hold on.
Mosquito.
Hello, Mr. Charles.
Greetings.
Charles Wilkes. Charles.
Right on time.
Oh Lord.
Charles, you know what this feels like? This feels like a meeting. Those meetings, I don't know what, this just feels like old times. I haven't been on Zoom with you in like a whole year. When we were doing Zoom. It's so good to see you.
What's going on?
Oh my God, it's been a year. It's been like 5 years since I've seen you. How have you
It's
been?
been a minute. Good. Been really good.
I'm so glad you were game to come on our podcast.
I love this. I've seen you all over, but I don't think we actually ever had the opportunity to speak. It's nice to meet you.
Likewise. I remember when I was working with Building Tulsa, we had an event there at the gallery one of the nights, and I just kind of absorbed the atmosphere, and so I've met you in other ways. We just haven't conversed yet.
Well, it's definitely a pleasure. And you are right on time. We're bringing up politics, and I have my father. He walked in the room. This is Mr. Alexander.
How you doing,
Hi,
sir?
Mr. Alexander.
Former military entrepreneur. This is basically where I get that entrepreneurial spirit, this whole lineage. But also he's the one that I said, we've been really talking about politics heavy in the house. And so he's opened my eyes up to a lot. And I love this Black around the world community we're building, because it's several generations, you know what I mean? So thank you for coming on. Thank you, Dad. This is Ray. Y'all never met, but you know, she's in Ghana.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, just tell us about who you are, Dad and Charles. Y'all can introduce yourselves and tell us who you are and your relationship with politics.
Okay, who you want to go first?
Charles, you can go first.
Okay. So Charles Wilkes, native of Tulsa, descendant of Greenwood. I'm a consultant. I hold different contracts with different organizations. I've been active in politics since about 16, but I really grew up in it. As they always make little jokes with Christy and Chief and them, is like I used to take naps as a baby at city council meetings and community meetings and stuff like that. And so I've been basically bred and groomed into this kind of lifestyle. I've been active politically. I've been active activist wise and Black movement wise, nonprofit wise, and government wise. And so I've just had a lot of different experiences, different sectors, different processes that have kind of just helped culminate to where I am today. And so I'm 29.
Beautiful.
Okay. Well, my name is, I go by Paul Alexander, but I'm Lucius Alexander. Paul is easy for most to remember. I am a native of Tulsa. Grew up, born, raised. My parents, my mom was a successful business owner in Tulsa. Each of us, my brothers and I, there's 5 boys in all. And 3 of us 5 ran our businesses, my mom's businesses. And she grew to be quite successful. It was called Marlowe's Wigs and Beauty Salon. We're the largest Black wig salon in the country.
Wow.
And normally speaking, that's Korean ran. And there's a place called King's International, the only place you can retrieve this stuff from, only one. And they actually come to the port of California, where we were blessed enough to be able to do business with them at a wholesale price. Currently, if you were to contact them and say you want to open business, they'll tell you, take about 2 or 3 minutes and say, no, there's 3 shops around you. We can't send anything to you. And that's kind of how they do it. So they run that. They have monopolized that market. But going back, I'm a graduate of McLean with the Oklahoma State. Navy veteran. My skill set is engineering, chemical engineering, and I left Tulsa. I came back with the work of Oklahoma Natural Gas. And Tulsa at that time, the drug was bad, the streets were horrible, unemployment was bad, and it was the 80s. It was the 80s, 85, 86, 87, and I couldn't wait to leave. I really couldn't. And when I moved to Texas, it was like one great grand opportunity. Because my whole goal was to come back and run for District 11 in Tulsa. I was going to go finish up, run back for District 11. However, I just didn't see it. And I'm so glad that I did leave, because it hurts sometimes when I do go back home and see what it's become. Because there's no community, if you will, because now we kind of dispersed. Half my classmates dispersed throughout the city or Tulsa County. But we're not collectively in one location like we used to be. So therefore, that voice, divide and conquer pretty much. But going back, I moved to Texas, managed a company of 1,365 employees. My goal at that particular time was to promote as many brothers and sisters as I could. They were professional. They had the skill set. They didn't have the opportunity. So I felt I was sent here for that reason, and that reason only. Currently speaking, I have a construction company and do quite well. And I'm trying to show her a few things now to kind of let her see how it goes. But it works. It works if you work it.
I love
Awesome.
that. Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you,
that.
Charles. Thank you, Dad. Well, we talk about a lot, community is heavy in our conversations, but I think because right now we're going through obviously all these elections and whatnot, and politics is something we've been talking about. I wanted to kind of have a conversation about how we do or we don't have a dog in the fight. And obviously we have someone on who grew up in politics. And so he knows, we do have a dog. And then my father, who, like I said, is from an older generation, has been through when we couldn't. Well, I don't know if you're that
Well,
old, but I was gonna say when we couldn't go.
I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna throw something out there, and because there's a lot of conversation, sound bites that's taking place that people really don't know what it means. For instance, if inflation means someone's inflating their price. Basically, is all it is. And right now, what has happened is prior to COVID, we used to have corporations that were going to spend their money overseas, which is now your 401ks. There's been money overseas, and we were taking vacation with Carnival Cruise Lines, the rest of cruise lines, etc. And that's where the money was going. And then they're doing the Wall Street thing. What happened was when Trump came in, we started creating these bad relationships thereafter. And so now what they're doing, they're buying property from you and me. And so now that's how come the price of housing is what they are, the price of the rent is what it is. So they're buying right here in the US and trying to price us out. And so they're purchasing these homes and wanting to go back and resell them to you, or hopefully they hope that you rent them with some type of subsidy through the government. And that's how they get paid. And so now they're pushing this out of our own neighborhoods and trying to pretend that it's due to one thing or the other. The bottom line is when they came and started inflating the so-called interest rate, that was to just stop them from buying us out, because they keep increasing that price. They have to slow them down, or they would bought us out. They put us out of home if you really want to know the truth. And that's what they were about to do. That's what they're about to do. So I want to use that word inflation because a lot of people really don't know what that means. And they throw it out there all the time, but it's important to understand that, especially when we start talking about politics.
Yeah, and I'm learning, obviously, me being the age I am. So do you have some, I guess, input as far as what you consider what's going on as far as our dog in the fight, and maybe even piggyback on the inflation topic?
Yeah, so I'll start with the inflation thing first. It's an algorithm. It literally has to do with the basis of just economic status and basically picking each process that goes along with how our economy is going to go. It's kind of forecasting it basically. And it's an imaginary number. It's not a real basis of thing. Because when usually people associate inflation, taxes, all these things into it, your taxes only really go to your state, really. Our federal government does not use taxes to spend money. That's not how it works. We print money and then we delve it into our processes of government, and that money trickles back down to population. The money that you give to federal actually gets burned. It does not get spent into anything. It's our money basically being remade, basically. It's basically its process. And so when you hear politicians talking about federal spending and all this other stuff, it's literally from them. Like they pick that number. They make the number of how many dollars we make a year, or how many, all those things. And so like normal people don't know that. And they make it's like, oh, we got to put these taxes in because we got to make sure that that's why all of these things are getting funded. No, the people at the top pick how much money each thing gets. And that's the reason why it's funded that way. The only basis of funding that we have influence on are our states, basically, because our states are not dependent on federal funding all the time that goes along with how things go individually in the process. And so I wanted to put that out there first, the context, because it's not true how a lot of times it's pushed into our politics. So it's not a conversation I have. I don't have conversations about federal spending or conversations about inflation and all of that because it's not real. It's not a real concept, right? I also don't have that many conversations about national politics because national politics is its own algorithm, like presidency. Like that's cool to sit there and argue about that all day and night, but your individual vote is actually not the precipice on which we have that conversation. It's your state's vote. If your state is going to go a certain direction when it goes to a presidential, and you can go vote all day and night till you blue in the face in that, but the algorithm's basis that sum total decides how many of those your electoral votes go to the electoral college. Your voice matters way more with your city council, with your state rep, with your state senate, with your mayor, with your county commissioners, with your auditors, with all the people that you actually can reach and have contact with. If you can't have contact with them, you're not that connected to the process to which goes into that electoral process. That's kind of how I explain it to people. And so we have to do a better job about actually talking about the people we can touch. Because if you're talking about Trump way more than you're talking about your own city councilor, you got it backwards. Because the person that actually makes the most decisions every day that affects you are the people that are closest to you. And so it like how we look at politics actually is like very backwards, but it's intentional. Because if I look at the person that's farthest from me, it's entertainment wise. It's not real to me if I can't, like, unless I can touch them. I can go call my city council. I pull up on her house all the time. That's not a thing. I talk to everybody that affects me, including our government. For better or for worse, either we on the same side or we not on the same side, but they know my name and they know who I am and they see my number and they know my number. And so it's a basis on who you can touch by if you're actually influential in the process, or if you actually are like, if it matters that much to me. That's the priority basis on which we should have with elected officials.
So you're talking, piggybacking on a city council conversation. I know you ran for city council.
I did.
And Dad, you said you were thinking about running for city council as well. Or no, were the city council or just Black people running for office in general? Is my question. Like, I know that like you said, the presidency is as far as, we can get, but when Obama was in office, it's like, Black people everywhere, we got somebody in office representing us, but he can only do so much when you're like in the system, right? And so basically my question is for y'all, both of y'all, like, when is it worth it for us to even invest in running for office? Even like thinking about running for office in Oklahoma or running for office, it doesn't even matter where you are. Is it ever worth it? What do y'all think about
that? How you want to do it?
I would like to share this real quick.
Okay.
That's a good question, because I'll never forget. I went to go back. I visited Tulsa and I spoke with one of the business persons there. And they had told me that we elected this person, Paul, to straighten out North Tulsa. We gave him enough money, and he's passed on, not to use his name. So we gave him enough money, and he done absolutely nothing. It looks actually worse. He said the homelessness is there. They pretty much blamed him for things that were taking place because nothing changed. Now I'm listening to him. This is a white, influential guy in Tulsa. And he's telling me that we put him in there to change some stuff. Now, they do blame us for the stuff that we do go through. Now, in terms of running for office, it's important. It's important that we make sure our funds, that money that goes in, like the gentleman expressed earlier, when you start paying the state funds and fees, that stuff's supposed to come back to you. But when I come over there and find out that there's no library, you have to go across town to go to a grocery store. Half the streets are ruined. You don't have stop sign where you need. There's no sidewalks for kids to walk home from school. That type of stuff is impacted. So yes, it is extremely important for you to run, especially running your community. And once you do run a community, you have to be available for your community as well.
I love that. Available for your community.
Definitely. I think the thing is when it comes to running, which I ran for Tulsa City Council District 3 in 2016. I've worked every type of campaign from all the way from school board to presidential. I have been a strategist. I've been a funder. I've been an advisor. I've been in a lot of different roles with it. And I will say, from my perspective, when it comes to Black people running, one, I think for what, right? Like when I ran for my district had it had 43,000 people. It had 3,700 Black people. It had about 8,000 Hispanics. It had about 3,000 other, and the rest were white, right? And so when I ran on the concept that I was going to be doing originally, like I was going to be doing for our people, right? And then when I came to the realization how you're not going to win in that prospect by saying, hey, we need to be doing Black this, while having a concentrated voting block of white people, poor white people. That is the most that was in my district. And so it actually, for me, like after I lost and I sat and I looked and reflected about a lot of the process, and I was like, look, what I was promoting, what I was pushing was not reflective about the population of people that I wanted to advocate for. At the end of the day, an elected official is only as impactful as its active base. So if you have a population of people that they only vote, but then they don't go and advocate, and they don't go spend time, and they don't go like making sure to push for the things that happens, your elected official is powerless, literally powerless. For the longest time, District 1, which is the district I'm in now, I used to live in District 3, but it got like redistricted. District 1 used to have so little happening in the district for like about 20 years. Like we went down and down and down, which District 1 is North Tulsa. And then we voted him out, which was Jack Henderson, and we voted in Vanessa. And the whole biggest thing about voting in Vanessa was like, we're going to have a voice, but we're also going to have somebody we can hold accountable and walk with in the process. And so during that time frame, a lot more people got involved. We built up organizations, we built up funds, we built up processes that helped to make sure and insulate that we were going to be influential in all the processes of the city, because a city councilor only has like a very small piece in influence within the city of Tulsa. The mayor, we have a very strong mayor concept. So we don't have a city manager. We don't have any of those things. Everybody's underneath and works for his office. And so if you're not influential in that office, and if you're not able to count your votes with the other city councilors, which is 9, you're not going to get anything through. So we had to build an alliance with citizens all over Tulsa to have influence with the whole basis of things to get what we wanted in District 1. And that means you got to make deals. And that means you have to like, okay, we can work together on this. We're not going to agree over here, but we can work together on this. And we had to negotiate and figure out how to make things work in that. And that takes time, takes a lot of time, takes a lot of strategy. And it takes a lot of borrowing and trading resources and trading manpower and all of that. And that is not something that people are used to that often. And so we had to train organizers. I got trained. Like so many people got trained in this process. And it took a long time, but we are really at the most influential and powerful that we have been in the last like 25, 30 years. I sit on 2 city boards. I have multiple friends that sit on multiple boards. And so like, there's literally not a dollar that goes through the city that I don't know about where it's going, literally. And that's for profit or nonprofit, because I sit on the 2 boards that money goes through with the city. And so like, that's the type of things that you have to do and put people at certain spots to make sure that, hey, I'm ringing the alarm, something's not right. And that means it hits a whole bunch of other people. And that means we have like a lot more influence on what happens versus just finding out after they made the decision and telling you what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so like, yes, it's definitely like the biggest point about electing Black people. But I think the other piece about it is we pay way more time to election time than anything else. And I think that's so backwards because election time is the culmination of the work that has happened, not the beginning.
It's the lead
and so
up.
it doesn't make sense to only come at that time and say, yeah, my vote matters. Well, your vote mattered the last 3 times that you didn't do nothing, but your vote actually holds its power by your advocating and saying, hey, my vote was my ticket in to say you need to listen to what I'm talking about. And in the process, in the meantime, not just at the thing of saying, I just got the ticket, now I'm going to participate, and then I go back to being a spectator. Politics is never a spectator sport. And I think that's the biggest thing.
But Charles, you hit on, but also talking about like how everybody's like, when it's voting time, that's when everybody's like talking to people, getting out. But to me, it is what you do the years leading up to those big elections, like,
Mhm.
right? Like for me, as far as talking to the people, getting people registered to vote and educating people, like, I don't know, y'all mentioned something we don't learn in school, like the average person don't learn something about like federal dollars and what it does. Like the average person don't really know how political systems work and and their place in it. And so I think for me, it's like educating, like, you know, how we're talking about, do we have a dog in the fight? The average person doesn't feel like there's any point in them voting. They don't know how policies are really impacting them. And for me, it's like the lead up to these big elections is educating the average person on how this policy impacts you, like, or how, you know, how the voting system works, and getting people registered to vote, and basically, and talking to them about it. Because like, doing the walks and talking to people when it's time to vote, I feel like it's backwards, a little bit too late. Like, what can we do, especially in Oklahoma, when they talk about how many people didn't vote or how many people aren't registered, you know?
Mhm.
For me,
Right. Only about like 34% of our population actively votes. Right. I have a response to that. So one of the things that when somebody comes to me saying, hey, I want to get into politics, I want to learn more about politics, I want to organize, I want to all of this, I always go into, well, tell me what your passions are. What are your first few things of your passions? And then also, what are the first couple things that you want to see better in your neighborhood, like your block, just your street? Most of the time people say, I need more lighting, need to get rid of these stray dogs. I need speed bumps if they're speeding on my street, like little simple things, right? And I tell them, okay, go find out how that works. Like, where does that come from? Like, who makes a decision on that? And so with our city, you know, we have neighborhood and works, and that you can go and apply to get speed bumps on your street. If you need more lighting, there's a department that you can advocate to and write that you'd say and go through that process. You're not paying for nothing, but it's just advocating to make sure that you get that on your street. Same as we have animal control and rescue, and you can call them and like put that into the file and make sure that they're using your street as a route to go and pick up dogs. And so it's small little advocating things that you start with, and you build those little wins to learning, okay, what else goes on? What's up with my water? Let me see what's up with the water department and learn about this. All this stuff is public information that's all on the site. It's required to be public information. But if you start to go with the little things and just build up, like I tell people all the time, if you can't change a stop sign on your own street, don't come and saying you're going to change the whole neighborhood. That doesn't work that way. You have to know how to advocate the small things first to build up to get to those points of things. Like literally, there's nothing that's on my street that I don't know about. Literally. When I used to work in stormwater with the city. And so whenever my stormwater drains get even a little bit too much trash in it or something, I'm calling them, hey, y'all haven't came by and looked at my storm drains. What's going on over here? Because that's a problem that's going to go into other things because I live on a floodplain. So it's little things that you go and do that make sure that like you're learning the basics. And then you also learn your neighbors at the same time, which is basic organizing, right? It's the little tools that you're doing that like, okay, this is my bandwidth that I know I have. Let me start with this. And then I grow from that. Then I learn and meet my city councilor. Then I learn and meet my state rep. Then I go and learn and meet, like you build it up over time. It's not something you could just go take the whole bite of. Politics is not that, because it's certain, you take specific issues and you just go with that. Like I don't participate in every fight. I don't participate in every subject. I don't participate in everything because those are not all my expertises. I go in what I understand first and build from that. And then I lend my influence to other things as I can. But I focus on my areas first before just jumping into everybody's thing. So it's literally just a start small, build your little wins, and just grow in time as it goes, basically.
You know, if I may, I like that response too. You have to have some level of passion for such. Because, for instance, when I come back to Tulsa, I've never seen so many homeless people in my entire life. Mm-hmm. And the neighborhood that I used to reside in used to be a model neighborhood. Now, 7, 8 o'clock, I'm getting that, and it's unfortunate. And I shared with the Queen when she moved to Tulsa. I said, I've never seen so many homeless white men my age in my life. If a white man my age in Tulsa don't make it, it's have you to leave. And because the truth of the matter is, Tulsa has this sense of prejudice. This is not crazy. And not only that, they don't mind expressing. I think Tulsa, didn't Oklahoma just come to 49, 51%? 49% white and 51% other? I think it turned
Not right now. It's right about 68% white.
well, I think I'm no Oklahoma. Oklahoma came to 49%. I think your investors want to share that with me. 49%. I said,
Oh, well, I'm talking about Tulsa. My fault.
Yeah. But the interesting part is there's a fear. The fear is right now we're busy. We're educated. We have this sense of communication. We can talk to one another. It used to be the newspaper. Unfortunately, it didn't get into everybody's hand. Everybody couldn't read at that point in time. It was all word of mouth. But now we can communicate across the world, across the globe. And so that is a bit of a threat. So getting into politics and you have a passion for something, you can make a difference. If you see something, you know how it should be or how it could have been. Some people, when they grow up, say in my same neighborhood, they grow up, they look at it, that's their normal. To me, it went down and needs some more work. So I want to take it to another level as opposed to just accepting things for where they are. And so it makes a huge difference because like when I come to Dallas and move around Dallas, there's a strong drive here to achieve, not just accept status quo, but to achieve. Going back to the federal part of the politics, there's the affirmative action is on the board right now. It's on the board right now. They're discussing it right now, said Clarence Thompson, we don't need it anymore. It comes back up in June. And so what they're doing is when we were coming up in Tulsa, it was a big thing for you to have a job at the post office. And the majority of them people got in there at the post office because it was a federal job. And so they were military, et cetera, and they gave able to get in there. Well, now they're saying you don't have to have black people in them schools at Harvard, Yale, and so forth. And you don't have to have most, and the jobs are on their way too. You have to affirmative action. You have to have them to receive federal funding and federal contract, et cetera. So that's really just trying to remove us. Is really basically what it boils down to. And they're not working with us. I mean, keep it real, we're not working with us. And so the more knowledge you have, the more you are the dog in that fight, the more you're really fighting for yourself and your kids' future, because there's a movement taking place. I've never seen it like this before in my entire life, where it is the way that it is. I'll be honest with you. When I was in Tulsa, half the business I went, 3/4 of the business I went to were all black. I mean, we traded black. The black cleaners, the black groceries, everything was black. And I go home and say, my God, what happened? And so the thing is, that's really what they kind of like to see. They don't mind losing. You got to remember, the biggest war we ever fought was the Civil War. That's the largest war we ever fought, and it was to keep us away. But guess what? We got an education. We're doing well. Our parents making sure that we achieved, whatever the case be, and here we are. So don't lose that toehold. Yes, be that dog and get in that fight, but you got to have the passion for it. It's not about the notoriety and nothing. It's the passion.
You hit a thing I actually want to make a response to. You said about how things, as we were getting educated, Reconstruction era, civil rights era, kind of some of those things. I think one of the things that I talk about is, and that's real controversial when I talk about it, but I feel like a lot of Black excellence has come at the cost of Black advancement, because it's the me before we.
Talk about it.
I'm gonna get in the door, and the moment I get in the door, I got to shut it behind me, because I was the first Negro, and so I gotta keep that. I gotta keep that little title, that little inkling right there, that little esque. And Tulsa, I feel like is actually a big test subject for that, because we got a lot of Black people that advance and they get to certain things, or they go and join this nonprofit or this fund or this philanthropy or this thing. And like, we have, to be honest, we got way more gatekeepers than we got advancers in our system.
What is that though? Like, can we talk about this, please?
It's an elitism thing. It's because, like, in our structure of Tulsa, it's rule from the kingdom down. That's how I look at the analogy of it. It's rule from the kingdom down. And they decide who gets what and who wins what and who loses what and what process goes with what. And it's been that way since the massacre. It's been that way since the massacre. If you will remember, even the reconstruction of Black Wall Street was done by different people than who originally did it. A lot of those people were still banned and were still wanted and were still, because they were free. and they were free. And a lot of the people that came afterward were not the same mentality of the same people. That's why would I let you rebuild something and it be better than it was before if you're going to have the same mindset you had before the first time when you built it?
Come on
And
now.
so that's not the same thing. And so it wasn't the same type of people. So when they said, hey, y'all can come all over the city, they were like, cool, let me take, I ain't want to be with these Negroes all the time anyway. So they took what they had and took it all over the city, not realizing they were losing the gold mine that they were losing. They were losing the nucleus, the real culture, the real essence of what the whole point was in the first place, because they looked at the white man's dream and said, oh, I can do that. And I think for me, too many times we want to emulate or be able to do what they're doing in our processes, and it takes away our essence in our point, what we are supposed to do on earth. And we sacrifice that essence, or we sell it, and then we go and start selling other people's. And so there's so many times in this process, like I've dealt with it. Like I'll say it like this: most of the people that's really been in this fight, we all get fired. Let's just go ahead and put it out there. I've been fired a few times from different jobs. That's why I started my own consulting firm, because I said I can't keep doing this. But
or some of us, we gonna quit before you fire me. I'm gonna quit.
Right, or they'll give you the little opportunity. Hey, you mean to go ahead and resign before, because it's coming anyway. But go ahead and resign. The writing on the wall. But I don't listen to that. I'll be like, nah, you got to fire me. Go ahead. We're gonna put this out there. So it is just the thing of Tulsa. Like, there's a lot of people that looked at Centennial as like some big achievement and some happiness. But that was hell, bro. That was a loss. It was ridiculous. The amount of elitism, the amount of backbiting, the amount of letting these white people run us in the process of that. For me, Centennial was a failure, complete, utter failure, because then people left and we didn't have nothing to show for it.
So interesting when I go home and visit and see all these businesses on so-called downtown Greenwood, what have you. And I'm like, this is insane. And it really hurts. It hurts all the way to the point where they try to take Booker T. Washington, turn to Tulsa, Washington. When they started taking what was Langston University, started turning to OSU. When they started, all of this stuff. And then to go back and know that this stuff took place on somebody's watch. And it's like, you let this happen? And
a lot of times our watch.
Yes.
And they put us at the point who made the decision in the first place.
That's exactly what I'm referring to. I'm watching whenever renewal came and started to push down half North Tulsa, pushed it down. And I was like, give me a break.
Even some people we've looked up to.
Yes. And the interesting part about it all is you said that sometimes we get there, we don't look back. I was kind of known where at my former plant where I retired from. They said I turned into a black plant. Now there's 1,365 people out there, and I started promoting a lot of brothers and sisters. And they were going from $8 an hour to $23 an hour. This is back in the 90s. But I had to turn to a black plant, really. So yeah, they did come after me. They came after me time and time again. I didn't care. Let's do the fight. I'm ready. And relative, I ended up retiring from there because it's like this. And then some of those people I was helping bit me back. They bite me in the back. But that's okay. That's okay, because I'm not going to quit. My whole point is, you're right. When you get there, we have a tendency to go in and start warming up. Let's keep everything cool. We don't want no problems. And they kind of go with the status quo. They get the check. And that's what I say. So if you don't have a passion for making a difference for your people, I suggest you not get in it. Because if you're just constantly looking out for yourself, and you can be bought, and you get to go to lunch and hang out with certain people, if that's all you needed to do, you should have done something else.
And there's a lot of that going on, especially in Tulsa.
I tell people all the time about that. I tell people all the time that, everybody can say they won't sell out, but it's different when they didn't offer you nothing. Mm-hmm. When that check is actually on the table, or that job is really right there, or that opportunity is really right there, that's when you really find out if you're really loyal or if you're really going to do it. And truth be told, 9 times out of 10, people take that dollar. That's just the truth of the matter. And I hate it. And sometimes it's been our peers. Sometimes it's been people we've looked up to that sometimes we call them pillars of the community or icons or all this other stuff. But we have been very much active participants in our own destruction of our own community. And that's not a conversation that we have. And of course, we're not going to have it in the open forum and all of that. But it's the truth. I can literally go down and name at least 40 names that I know have been in specific positions at times that have been like literally destructive to our community. And they either didn't say nothing, or they shut the hell up and went home, or they quit, or they left. It happens. It still happens today. And it's just very, very frustrating. You know, I love them as people, but I very much understand who they are. And I put them in that bucket of that's who they are. I don't be with well, they'll come around or they'll, you know, sometimes we're a little too forgiving and we're a little too nice about it. And we're a little too godly about it. It's how I look at it, because politics is a human process at the end of the day. It is human characteristics and human nature processes. And if you you come in there with this morality look that goes along with politics of, oh, I got to look for the good in everybody, it's going to get you ate up. I do not go into that process. You go into activism with morality. You don't go into politics with morality. They are not the same thing. They're actually oil and water. Trying to mix them together creates a lot of problems because you're trying to connect morality with money. That don't work that way. And it's such a frustrating thing. Such frustrating.
I love the point you used earlier about getting to a certain place and want to be like they are, like the white, so to speak. I grew up in an entirely white neighborhood. And it was the interesting part about the neighborhood we grew up in. Our Black family was the most successful in the whole darn neighborhood. We knew them firsthand and how they grew up and say, they're not all of that. You know, I know you. I know I know what you did when your daddy left, your mama came, who was sleeping with whose uncle, and all the rest of this mess. And then, but from outside looking in, we think, oh, white people can do it, we can do it too. We don't know how they're living. You think you know how they're living.
Right. And we also have to stop putting ourselves the pressure to compare to them. They have had over 70 generations of process for over almost 500 years in this country. We have been free maybe 65, maybe 70 years. And so why are we trying to compare our collective wealth and process and advancement to a culture that literally, one, built it on our back, and then two, have made more mistakes than any other culture in just societal history, like as human nature? Like, they have made more mistakes and have made more like mess ups. So why are we looking to replicate a lot of their messes? Because that's actually what's happening. When you look at what's happening with our community and our cultural process, we're literally making some of the rookie mistakes that they made in their processes by trying to either appease or trying to feel like we got to step on somebody else in order to move somewhere in a process. But that's not our DNA of process. And so it doesn't do us well at all.
But we're socialized, but we're like, I feel like a lot of that is a level of internalized racism, where we've internalized, still subconsciously think that they are supreme and they are the benchmark. It is also just this ability, this like belief that they are the benchmark. I think there's a lot of it internalized racism is also growing up in the system and being socialized to all the parameters and all the ways in which white supremacy, that we receive that message. We start to internalize that and take that on as truth, and we start to move in the ways that the toxic ways in which they're moving. And so, and they call it Black excellence. Like, just because we've reached a certain level and then we just do the same thing that they're doing and then call it Black excellence, it's like, no, but we have to really imagine something totally different than what they've been doing. Like, in whatever way, whatever it is, may it be education, may it be running a nonprofit. Like, I talked to a friend who runs a nonprofit. I'm like, you literally have to be mindful of not doing the same thing that, you know, that you may have been like frustrated about in nonprofit work. You know, we can just perpetuate the same things. And it's something that we have to work every day to be mindful of, not perpetuating the same stuff that, you know, white people are doing, these harmful things. And that's the issue. We think we just have to be Black and just do the same thing. No, we're going to have to be Black and do the opposite and imagine the world and do it totally different. You know what I'm saying? And and selfish, like we can't be thinking about ourselves at the end of the day. At the end of the day, it has to be very, when I get there, all of us is going like the best interest. I think that for me, it's been about like this love. I know I don't want to get mushy, but for me, it's like, what happens when we like collectively love each other in those positions, and like love looks like considering those around you, considering those that you're leading, considering those that you have the power to impact, yeah.
You know what I found so interesting? I had to learn this too. Like he had stated earlier. First of all, everybody can't go.
No.
Everybody's not designed to go. And see, we have this thing called we black, we all supposed to be there. It don't work like that. Now, one thing about white people I would give them is we were watching a movie the other day that it was an older movie with Muhammad Ali in there when he was Cassius Clay. And he's a statesman, etc. He started talking, and they went to the statesman meeting, and they said, imagine what he would be like once he get an education. Listen to him now without one. And so when he left the room, they said, what we got to do is use this white trash to go over there and put their sheets on and burn these people out. And he said, us people with the statue, we're going to take everything we're supposed to have. And that's really what they do. They already realized all of them not going to go. But we think because you're black, you're supposed to be a part of that train. It doesn't work like that. Everybody can't get on board. I don't care if it's a family member. If they're not going forward with you, you got to leave behind and keep moving.
I actually cannot stand when I hear people talking about, we're not united enough. We got to have more unity. We got to have more. No, we don't. No, we do not. If I don't agree with them, or if they're doing some things that's to my demise, or if they're doing some shady stuff and they're doing some dirty stuff, stop saying that we got to be in the same bucket. Like, I don't want, why would I open the pen so wide that I let wolves in the hens? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. And we all don't like each other. I got a lot of people that they'll never know it, but it's a lot of people I actually cannot stand as people. But I do work with them, and that's fine.
But you work with them. Because I want to talk about that, because I struggle with that idea of we all can't work together because we disagree. I just really feel like there has to be a way that we can still move collectively.
But I only work with them on a basis of certain particular principles. If I know the actual thing is actually a beneficial process, and I know I have enough influence to make sure it won't go wayward, or it won't get sold, or won't get messed up at the end, then I'll do it. Because if I don't have the ability to say the outcome, I'm good. Because I think the problem is like too many times we don't have the plan all the way there, the strategy, everybody not on board, all these other things. Then those character issues start to be able to create problems in the process, and the whole thing gets screwed up. And so I think that's where you got to know, like, if I put them in this spot, I know what their issues are, I know what their things, but I know in this spot they're going to do what they're supposed to do, then I can work with it. But if it's too much variables and too many uncontrollable factors, and they might mess up this, or they might screw up this, and they might go back and tell them the plan, or they might go, like, you gotta, there's some nuance to how you work with certain people that got a lot of character issues. And it's like, and I think the thing is like too many times we go and blame them for things that we know they're gonna do, but we shouldn't have went and go mess with them in the first place. If we knew that's what they were gonna do, if I know that if I go tell you some issues that I'm having and how I'm gonna strategize against the mayor or whoever it is, and you go and be buddy with them, it's my fault for going to tell you, because I knew you wasn't nothing anyway. And so that, like, sometimes we got to have a lot more ownership in our processes to say, like, nah, I already know who this person is. I've already, like, really scanned the whole terrain. I have to do a better job of knowing which people to pick and which ones to put in process, not because we friends, not because we did the last 3 projects together, not because you this community pillar person and everybody got to do, so you got to be a part. I don't do none of that crap. I do not just jump into every process and every project and everything. And also, I don't let people just put me in positions about, oh, you got to do this part, or you got to do this. I'll be like, hold on, wait a minute now. I don't see the whole table. So you don't get to just leverage my influence and my ability in the process without me understanding what the table looks like. And it's just, if I know that I'm for Black advancement, and I'm for making sure we're moving forward, and I'm for reimagining what North Tulsa looks like, and I'm like, if I know that, and I know something goes against that in the process, I can't be there. It's just not, it's not for me. And so sometimes it's not even just saying don't involve them. Sometimes just don't involve me. Because if I know that I'm going to be the one to mess up whatever y'all got going on, by all means, I'll be at the house. By all means. I love being at home. I'm good. I don't got to be a part of every process no more.
So
I've
interesting.
been a part of hundreds of different projects and strategic plans and all this bull. What we got to show for it? What's the point? I'm good. I'll be at home.
When I was in Tulsa visiting Sequina at the gallery, doing centennial or what have you, when the gallery opened, when the museum opened, or whatever, I never really seen any major Black support. I said, where are the officials? Never. That's the official. Now, when we have a concert or something, they may be sitting up there, got a few rappers and what, but I never seen any of those what I call white shirts. Where were they at? And so I said, you don't have any back in here. And they're hiding somewhere. You don't have any backing, and it's a total waste of time because they have a different agenda. And whatever this is right here, unfortunately, there's not going to be any money crossing the table. You know, you can have culture all you want to. You know, we have those kumbaya moments where we all think we're supposed to be there together. The person that you know have the character problem, we're going to help them out and, you know, just show them what we're going to fix these problems. You can't fix them, people.
My dead body.
Well, I think going back and bringing it full circle, you know, I think as a mother, like I said, we were having these conversations because I want to start bringing out that passion that my dad talks about within my son when it comes to getting involved in the community. And someone who, like I said, I'm just getting new to politics, but when I think of politics, I think of change. And from this conversation, it sounds like you don't necessarily have to be in politics to actually implement change. You just have to be within the community, and you have to have that passion. You have to make those phone calls. So going forward, do y'all have any advice, I guess, when it comes to how can we start getting more involved? Because like you said, it's oil and water. And I'm not saying every Black person is an activist, but I do believe when you talk about unity and codes, we have to have some type of conversations we're having, some type of traditions we're implementing. So we do have some type of one collective going on. Like when you see what happened, what's going on with Kanye. I feel like I bring up Kanye every episode, but you know, the Jews are on one code, right? And you don't have to like every Black person, but do y'all have any advice on how we can start implementing something that, you know, maybe you jumping into politics, or maybe you start going to city council meetings, that we can really start seeing change within our community?
Yeah, I have a small recommendation. A den mother, a Boy Scout leader, or the community stuff, the getting involved in the PTAs at the schools, because that is your community. And so when you start doing that thing, that's how it works, because those are the people that you're able to affect, and you're making a difference in their life, and they get used to you, and you create a passion. You end up knowing your community before you know it by doing those type of things.
I think one of the biggest, I actually have not really, I used to consider it like this individual gift, but I actually think it's something that you have to be trained to do. Your lens about how you see your community. One of the things that I had to learn is look at what's there, look at what's not there, and who makes it be what it is. Like who influences why are the things the way that they are? If I'm only looking at crime as, oh, it's like this, it's just like this, people just go do crime, I'm looking at the effect, I'm looking at the result of something, instead of going back to say, we're not having enough education, our incarceration reintegration is trash, our housing is trash, our economic stability is trash. Like if I'm not looking at all the bases of the background and learning to see my lens past what's just the surface of my eyes, I can't look and understand that all these things have system pieces that go into the whole totem of the thing. So I would say really just and it's not even teaching them to like just to look well how you see it, but actually letting them like, hey, what do you see? What is this to you? And then what do you not see? Just asking the questions that just get their minds to start to run, to say, okay, all right, I'm not seeing all of this. And why am I not seeing all of this? Then that makes you have to go look, makes you have to go spend some time. I've read a multitude of books. I spent a lot of conversations talking with elders and elected officials activists and you know, whoever, just about community and learning about concepts. And like, it took a long time of learning. And then also it took another level when I had to start teaching it to other people. And so it's literally like, I'll say it's like teaching to ride the bike, right? Like, I got to put you on the bike first. And then I got to, you know, we're going to push together. We're going to push together for a while. And then after a while, let's see if you can go just a little bit. I'm going to still be next to you. And then just kind of building that process as they go, but allowing them to use their gifts and their eyesight and all those things to be able to go and be able to do it on our own. You know, as I talk to my cousins and different ones that were like involved in the stuff, even that they're not even nowhere near involved in the process, they can still go and sit there and be like, oh no, that's this, and this connects to this and this and this. Like, it doesn't go away. Like, once you get out of what I call like this general concept fantasy. I call it fantasy world because it's not real. A lot of concepts of what we look at in everyday life is not real until you start to go behind the cover and all that. You haven't seen real life yet until you see not just the pretty, but the dirty, the muck, the what all is really going on in process. But it's our jobs as somebody that can't see it to just give them the way to it, but not make them go, but just say, hey, this is how you get over there to really see the other side. And it's their choice to go on whether they want to see it, because everybody don't want to see real life. Let's just be clear. Everybody does not want to know how
they're
things
not ready,
really
or they're just not ready.
Hey,
and I really
some people like to live in bliss.
I really would like to see more of like talking about Tulsa and talking about like people disagreeing. Charles, you're sharing how, you know, you don't work with everybody. I get that. But one of the things I really would like to see us is not getting so caught up in like demonizing it and making our own the enemy. Cause like we just getting distracted. That's just a distraction, really. To me, like that's just like lessening your power when your focus is what your fellow brother is not doing, or where his mind is, or like pulling him down, or like trying to block him, or trying to gatekeep that. Like for me, like this is why I created this podcast, really around my frustrations around how we are moving within ourselves as a community in Tulsa. Because we can't, some of us lack the ability to hold opposing thoughts and figure out a way to really say that you can believe this way and I can believe this way, but there's a way that we're gonna have to figure this out together to get to where we gotta go. And I mean that's where I'm at with it. But I would really like, I
get the concept of it, right? I get the concept, because if I was talking about we don't agree on the same sports team, cool, great, yada yada, right? But if we have a different concept about moving a community forward or doing things that's good for a community, and the things that you're doing is detrimental, we're not going to agree there. We're not going to work together on that principle.
I get that, yeah.
Because it's like it's not of a thing of like whether somebody is necessarily an enemy to me, because at the end of the day, you're human, and so humans are all infallible. Period. To me, I don't put certain humans above other humans. Humans are the most inconsistent resource on Earth, literally, because we screw everything up inevitably, like eventually. That's just what we do. But I think the thing is that there's definitely a lot of spiritual concepts and a lot of other concepts that go into that process, that those are the things that I just can't attach to. There's certain atmospheres I just can't attach to. There's certain, like, if I know you're here on this thing and you're here on behalf of somebody that is against what is going on in the process, then I have to regard you the same way, right? Say, for instance, I'll give a perfect example with the mayor. When we first, started doing all the community meetings with the mayor, right? And, he had all the Black people working in his office at first. And
sorry, Charles, say what you're talking about, because this is a Black Around the World.
So after Terrence Crutcher, Terrence Crutcher had died, was killed. Well, I'm going to get the concept.
I'm just saying, the podcast is not Tulsa based, it's Black Around the World. So I need you to talk in the context.
So after Terrence Crutcher had been killed, we were pushing for a lot of different things with the Tulsa Police Department about advancement. And the only way to do that is through the mayor, because the mayor hires and fires our police chief. And so we had a group of young people come together and call up the mayor, and mayor said, okay, let's go and meet. Let's meet in my office to talk. And so we already knew in that process that he was going to have all of his Black staff involved in that process. And so, and we're friends with them. Like, we love them as people. Like, we're cool. But I very much understood your job is to block for the mayor. That's your job. If you work in the mayor's office, your job is to defend the mayor and help make sure it solidifies stability and all that within the mayor's office. And I said, all right, these are our friends. We love them, but we're going to have to go against them in this moment. So we're going to have to let them have it. And it's not attack on character and all of that. It's like, this is the battle. This is what happens. And so we had to battle, and they took some hits and it hurt. And we had to go have conversations and kumbaya moments afterward and all of that. And we grew up together. How you gonna do me like this? And, you know, I can't believe you made me feel like this. And, you know, all that. We had to clean all that up later and all that. But we had to get to the mayor. And so, and at every meeting, it was one less Black person involved in the process. And when each Black person was less involved, the mayor pulled out. He didn't want to meet with us no more. Because he was like, hold on now. Y'all, my blockers ain't here. They not involved no more. So why I want to talk to y'all? Because it was never the goal to get the thing done. The goal was to keep us being able to just go back and forth with them. And that wasn't going to happen with me because I wasn't there for them. I was there for the mayor. And that was the point. And we've had so many moments like that where certain people are different positions or certain, you know, this board or this thing, and we have to go to bat against them. And that happens. But I think there's a way that we need to be able to do it without it becoming this personal, I don't like you beef that it goes into all these other things. But I can have this course with you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to let you have it. And 9 times out of 10, I'm going to win.
Yeah,
and I think you're just going to have to live with it afterwards. When I see you at the corner, I see you at the liquor store or wherever, be cool, be nice. Cause that won't even come into my mind when I see you in the community. Cause it's not the same basis upon which we do things.
Right. So that's the personal, like when you just hit on it, I think it's like making it personal is where, for me, it gets ugly and negative. Like, it's okay for us to disagree. It's okay for us to do what we have to do in those spaces. But for me, it's like, let's not make it personal, you know, let's not make it to like you said, when I see you, oh, it's like I hate you, you know what I'm saying? Or like, I'm about to drag you on social media. That's why I think that we just get distracted.
Because that's the difference between politics and activism. Okay. Activism is personal. It's very personal. Politics is system. It's system power. It's power and influence struggle. It's not the same thing. And I think a lot of times we think we're going into politics, but we do a bunch of activism and then try to bleed it into politics, and it creates this whole nuanced issue, big turmoil, because it's not understanding which lane I'm walking in and which principles I have to go by being in that lane. Like, I dabble in both lanes, but that I am a completely different person in each lane. When I'm out at the protests and we doing that, you get a different Charles than you get at the mayor's office, or you get at the certain meetings or the certain thing. Like, that's not the same person. And I think that's what, if you can't do that or understand the different sectors and the rules that go along with each, don't be jumping in a bunch of different sectors.
You know what's so interesting? You should bring that up. I remember a lady contacted me one day, said, Mr. Alexander, your son is late. And my son was working with us at the time. I said, what you call me for? Fire him. Because it's business. It's business. And I don't play. You do what you're supposed to do, or I didn't terminate yourself. On our way, we were going to the same building. You drive your car, drive mine. I'm going to a different door than you do. And I meant that. Now, going back to Tulsa, you got to keep that out of there. We can't just beefing at the liquor store and all the rest of that kind of stuff. This is business. We take care of that. The person, I'll have a drink with you and fire you the next day. I've actually fired one of my best friends from out there and help him move because he lost his job. That's how it goes. But going back to the point, Tulsa, what really gets me about Tulsa, I know more about going on Tulsa than half the people live in Tulsa. When I go over there, I told my brother, said, Tulsa's been rezoned. He said, what do you mean? I said, North Tulsa, now downtown district goes all the way to 36th Street. They look at me like, huh? I said, you live here, don't know that? And so Tulsa has changed. from Pine to for Mohawk, back over 36th Street for Lewis, going back. That's the new piping company coming up inside of there.
The corridor.
And so they don't have any place to turn the truck around. So I told them they're gonna widen this street out over here because there's no place to get the trucks in, and that's because they can't make a turn. So we start buying property over in that area. People in Tulsa that live there don't even know it.
Nope.
Unfortunately, they don't even know it. And I go home, share this with my brothers. Look at me, how you know this? My
And it's
question
by
is, how
design.
do you not know it? Because
It's by design.
when I come in, I start seeing what's going on, and I start asking questions. I inquire, say, why is this happening? Why is that happening? And so what they're doing is they're rezoning things, they're remapping things. But if you kind of get ahead of the program, you can make some investments yourself, because it's going to happen, and you're not going to stop it. It's going to happen. You start making investments so you gain some kind of wealth out of it. But it's unfortunate that the people in Tulsa don't even know.
And Tulsa's probably the only place. It's like you said, it's by design. It's wherever they don't want us to invest or just be great, period. That's the agenda. Stop them from being great.
Yeah. But I do want to, like, before we close, hear if y'all have any closing remarks. But for me, it's always like, what nuggets, what solutions did we like come out of this discussion? One of the things I heard from y'all was like the importance of voting local, because oftentimes we do get caught up in the bigger political system and feeling like we don't have a place, we don't have a voice, our vote doesn't matter. What I hear y'all saying is, one, it's figuring out, the impact of local offices on your everyday life. I know another thing I picked up from y'all was like just gaining knowledge of the issues. I think it's what responsibility though do y'all feel like? I feel like, yes, we have personal responsibility to gain knowledge, but what responsibility do we have to actually then educate those who still are lacking in that knowledge? Because like for me, when I say like, what is the lead up to these elections? It's like, well, what are we doing to galvanize, inform people that they can actually make a difference? For me, that's what's important. What else did you pull anything out of this? Another thing I pulled out is like us imagining a world different than what we've been socialized to believe. And so when we do get in these positions, we're going to have to move differently in order to impact our communities. We can't get in there and move the same. That's definitely something I pulled out of this discussion. Anything else that we would like to wrap up and really pull from the discussion?
I actually want to piggyback. Everybody can't go. I think it's literally the thing of, we can create pathways for people to learn and to organize and to do. We can set the table for it. But the thing is that who is supposed to come will come. Okay. I do not come with the mindset if everybody got involved, we would get things that, no, that's not necessarily true. Whose eyes open and who gets involved is supposed to be involved. That's how I look at it. Because I can't go off the concept of we don't have enough or we don't. No, that's not true. That's not true. It has been, to be honest, most of the time it's been a very small group of a few people that have made some of the biggest waves in the city at times. That's been a thing. Sometimes it's been 1,000 people or something, and that didn't mean nothing. It's just the truth. And so I don't have that concept anymore. There was a time I had that concept, but I have gone out of it because until people do get up and people get involved and we still have to go and make the things that we can make happen in that process. Everybody can't go. That's just the truth. Because I think sometimes people, they want to get involved and then they want to control the process immediately when they get involved. Oh, now I see it. Now I got to be the leader. Bro, I don't even want to be the leader, bro. If I could just go home and not have to be involved in so much of this stuff and not have to not make money or not have to, sacrifice all this stuff all the time. This stuff has cost me so much being involved in this stuff. It's cost me a lot. It's cost me time. It's cost me innocence. It's cost me inducing more trauma. It's cost me, being threatened and people knocking my mailbox over and doing stuff. I've had people SWAT. I've had people do so many different things. I've lost jobs. I've lost opportunities. I've been kicked out of groups. I've been because of speaking and because of being involved in this work. And so I don't know why people want to be a leader so much. Just be cool with the things that you get to do. Be happy with that, because this is not fun. I'm ready to be done, to be honest.
It's ego. It's ego. Anyways.
I'm gonna share this real quick. You talk about ego, and then I'm gonna go ahead and do a closing statement. My community, we were forming a homeowners association, and it got to be a pretty big group. Well, it turned back over, and it was like, well, we started trying to select officers, and they started looking my way. Not that if I don't have enough to do already, but with that came a whole bunch of work. Now, this doesn't pay. Now, there's a whole lot of work involved. There's a lot of meetings and getting prepared and doing that paperwork and all that kind of stuff. So if that ego gets you out there, good luck on the work, because you got a lot of work to do thereafter. Now, going back to Tulsa, I really hate when, unfortunately, a 10-year-old go over there and his normal of Tulsa is that it is of North Tulsa. You go to a convenience store and I see 2 or 3 homeless people outside sleeping on the sidewalk, or go down there on Pine, or I just see all that, and that's their normal. And I really hate that, because if there's some kind of way to change that dynamic, I would love to. But going back to what we said, sometimes places are for a certain time. I'll never forget, it was the Queen that mentioned to me. She said, our hood. I told her, I said, no, you're living in our hood now, because we built our own homes. That's the stuff they used to have. That's the stuff we moved. They old stuff back then. Now we're building our own hoods. That's our hoods now. And it makes a difference. So the reality of it is, if we can just not try to take something that's broken and fix it, but go over there and kind of create, because that's kind of what happened in Greenwood. Thought white people had it going on, but they would go down to Crescents and places on Thursday and start leaving the black neighborhood, going over to shop with them in the basement on Thursday evening and go shopping, and pretty soon ran them out of business. That's really what happened. Unfortunately, we have to support each other. This right here, this talk that you're having is great, because I feel the passion and the concern. Because each of you, I know at least 5-10 people. So that number turns into 30 or 40 real quick. And so with that, at least 30, 40 people are looking at Tulsa and hoping things do change. That's what I'm getting out of this.
I really like what you said about not fixing what is, but creating. To me, that's like the same concept of like imagining something totally different. At the end of the day, is what we need to be doing.
A Wakanda. That's what we're working on.
Yeah.
Our own new everything. I love it. I love it. I enjoyed, Charles, your perspective, Dad, your perspective. Every day I get his perspective. So I felt like it was thrilled to get his perspective as well.
Thank you. Thank y'all for coming.
I guess ways to maybe contact you all or support you, if people all around the world that are black around the world will be watching this. So if there are things or initiatives that you want people to follow, did you want to leave like some contact information?
Yeah, I'm on just about every social media. Charles L. Wilkes is my handle. I would say, to be honest, just find your local group, find your local org that you see doing work, especially identified with the passions that you have, and go along and work with them if you can. Just start there. Start on your own street. See what the things that you can help and improve on your own street, and build out from there.
I love that. Dad, did you? I don't know if you want to leave it.
Well, not necessarily contact, but they say this right here. Charity does start at home. Just like you said, start on your own street. Charity starts at home. So when you start creating that situation at the house, that lifestyle, whatnot, you don't get to go be a different person when you walk out. You're that person that you are when you walk out, and you're the same person. They know who they're dealing with. I really appreciate that. But you know how I am about contacts. So because I actually got 2 jobs going on right now on Sunday that I'm gonna go check on. So I'll just feed through you at this point.
So business is good, is what he's saying. Well, thank y'all. I guess this wrap up like the politics portion of things. And we'll definitely be in contact with you, Charles, because you spoke on some things that I would love to have you back for, which is, leadership. And, I think just being able to get so many different perspectives on different topics is what we're all about as far as the podcast is concerned.
Can I ask Charles Charles, I'd like to ask you another question.
Yes, sir.
Communication through Tulsa as a whole, North Tulsa, how is that done currently?
Just to be honest, old school organizing. We're sending emails, we're popping up on people. We are a community that is still very much word of mouth based. It is not just social media based. It is not, the newspaper's not, some news outlet. It is still very much grassroots, like in the know. You got an email, you got a phone number, we text. We're still very much bare bones, like how we get the word out to people. We're really good at it because that's just what we know. And we've been in the community for so long. So we got all this. Now, a lot of people struggle trying to get information out to North Tulsa, but it's because we're separated by so many things. There's separation of class, there's separation of generations, there's separations of like, North Tulsa is a conglomerate of multiple different groups and different situations. And so it is not easy to just put out, a blanket statement or information out to everybody because only like a subset's gonna get it.
That is a whole nother topic within itself. I was so shocked to see all this I don't know, groups that made up the little bitty group.
This group don't talk to this group can't stay in this group. If you invite this group not coming. Like it is a thing to just have all that in your mind and just know that it's hell.
Papa Eden said there's a lot of seeds that have been planted in our community that keep us divided. And that those groups are.
I was trying to end on a good note.
Sorry.
If we can end on a good note, that'd be great.
Okay, what's a good note?
We was on a roll.
I think the good note is we're having these conversations. We are creating these new norms and the new traditions. We've left, the people with some nuggets to go back and implement in their community and on their streets and in their homes. So we're doing it. The good note is the work is happening.
That's it.
That's the good note.
The conversations are taking place.
I use a term called woke. I ask people, are you woke? And they look at me like, what are you talking about? Are you woke? And woke means a part of what's going on. You're paying attention. I don't hear about your negativity. I want to see you doing something about having been in your community, like the brother suggested earlier. Woke.
Thank you. Stay woke. That's what we're gonna end on. Stay woke.
There you go.
All right. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you. Y'all have a good one.
All right. See y'all.
Bye.
Thank you, Dad.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm grateful for that conversation. I think that is a good end to the podcast, to be honest.
I do too.
This
I think
episode. Yeah. All right.
I believe we learned a lot. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I learned a lot. I'm not really into politics, but I feel like I pulled a lot about what I can just do locally. I did it with the gallery. But dude, like even just as far as like he said, making sure the gutters and stuff, like calling local people, I don't do that. I just figure it out.
Yeah.
Or let someone else do it, but.
Yes, I definitely something we can end on to as well. Like speaking of how they were talking about, we're talking about this community and trying to figure out, is there a way in which we can disagree and work together? For me, it's always going to be, like I said, about liberation and love. So I want to end on that segment. We have talked about, with this being a new podcast, what are some areas that we want to focus on? I know we want to bring in some art. I know we want to have liberation concepts. And so for me, one of the segments I really want to focus on is like small nuggets of liberation concepts. And so that is something that I'm still exploring and I'm still learning every day, and as an active participant in like seeking out this information. And so one of the concepts I want to explore is this idea of liberation, which for me it means this freedom in our minds taking place, and so and it's awareness. For me, liberation is freedom in our mind and awareness, an awareness of how we've been socialized, and how awareness of how we are upholding our own like oppression and oppression of our brothers and sisters, whether we're upholding, constructs of racism and sexism and classism, capitalism, and just a liberation and freedom from those maybe harmful cultural things that have been handed to us in our families, in our traumas. And so really leading with this place that liberation is a practice. It's going to be a practice. It's not something that is just going to happen. It's a daily choice. I'm yoga. I'm a yoga student, and as we say in yoga, it is a practice. It's not about just being good at something. It's not about arriving. Liberation for me is a practice. It's something that we actively choose. We're actively aware of. And okay with also the challenges that come with being uncomfortable around the challenging of our old thought processes, and being held accountable. And so when we are comfortable with that, when we're actively choosing to be aware, we start to be able to see, the limits being taken off our mind. We start to expand our capacity to really love ourselves and others on a deeper and more meaningful way. For me, at the heart of it, that's what I want to see liberation do, is expand our capacity to love ourselves and love each other. Because when you're undoing and unlearning things that made you see yourself or your brother and sister in a negative light, or put you in that scarcity mentality to even think that you have to sell somebody out to get to where you want to be, like that's just a need to liberate yourself. And so for me, and once you're liberating your mind, then you can get back to the basics of showing up for yourself properly and showing up for your fellow brother and sister, even though you may disagree with him, properly. And so that's my moment in liberation.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Queen. I'm gonna get some rest. Like I said, I've not been feeling well. You're frozen. Wait, I can't hear you. Hold up.
Oh,
Say
I think
again.
we're back, right?
Okay, we're black. Yes, we're black.
We're black. No, I was saying in regards to just liberation and what I think about it when I hear the word, I just think of just true vulnerability and just nakedness. Like you gotta naked physically and mentally. Like let's be real. If we all walked around here naked, you gotta be completely just open and liberated from everything that society has taught you, everything you've told yourself, everything other people has told you, like to be completely authentically naked. So that's
to love is that vulnerability is a word. To love is to allow one's vulnerability as a human, to allow you to humanize people more, and to humanize your experience and to be vulnerable. I think that is something that we learn not to do, not to be vulnerable. We learn to put on these masks. That's something we've been socialized and need to be liberated from, and need to be freed of thinking we have to put on, I think vulnerability, that like you not only free yourself, but you free others when you set that example of vulnerability.
Oh, absolutely. It's all about group thought and group think. And so, liberating each other and ourselves from mindsets that no longer benefit us, which probably never benefited us in the first place. Like once we start really just breaking the chains, I hear shackles, Mary. Like when we start breaking the chains
of my feet so I could dance. Hey, I just
that's liberating.
Yeah.
That's liberating. And it's on a Sunday, so that's fitting, right? Shout out. I should intro the whole podcast with that song.
It's a Sunday. Yes, we're not sure when it's going to air, but we're recording on a Sunday.
We
Well,
are.
thank y'all. Follow us on Instagram, Black Around the World _.
Yes.
Follow. We're on Spotify.
We
I
are.
don't think we're on Apple yet. Well, we're on Apple. We're gonna get on.
It
the other-
didn't, no, that's a whole nother set of can of worms that I'm gonna look into, but I think our
Yeah.
only platforms right now is YouTube and Spotify. And then, yeah, Instagram, like you just said.
Yes. Subscribe
grow.
on. Subscribe. We growing. We're week 2. I think we're doing. I mean, episode 2. I think we're doing well. Find us on, like you said, YouTube, Black Around the World. Go to our page. You can find those links on Instagram. And as we've been saying, this is a communal effort. Please, you can also email us at blackaroundtheworld.the podcast. Is it, or blackaroundtheworld.podcast?
I think it's just podcasts. Ooh, we'll have it in the description box and
In the show notes, as the podcasters say, in the show notes, I got it, blackaroundtheworld.podcast@gmail.com. You can email us there. Email us based on the topics that you heard. Email us on topics that you want to hear, or if you want to even be on the podcast. We're open to Black people around the world.
yes, and even pertaining to the topic today, like if you have any advice on how we could start, I guess in a sense, like I said, feeling like we have a dog in the fight, whether it's getting into politics, or how do you get involved in your community? Are you going to city council meetings? Are you going to the PTA meetings? What are you doing? And I want you to, I guess, share that information so we can inspire others to do some things that they're not doing, including myself.
Yes. Thank you.
All right. I love you, girl.
Love you too. Talk to you later.
Love y'all.